guys, so we are here today to talk to you about a new exciting product from Quantum. It's called TB4. So TB4 is our new and latest seating system that is finally going to allow us to do anterior tilt with your patients, and we're really super excited about it. There's a lot of neat innovation in this product that we're going to share with you right now and tell you about the product. The first thing I want to tell you about is that with TB4, you will have to order all 4 power seat functions. So it will be power tilt, up to 50 degrees of power tilt. Power reclining back will go from 85 degrees to 164. You will have dual actuator on the AFP that will elevate up and also have an actuator to articulate it away. And you'll have the seat elevation. So on the Stretto and Edge 3 will be 12 inches of elevation, and on the Forefront 2, you'll have 10 inches of elevation. So the other thing I wanted to tell you about is on the anterior tilt, which we're really excited about, you're going to have 10 degrees at no charge. So you'll be able to go to 10 degrees of anterior tilt. It will not require the chest bar and the knee block. But when you do go up to the 20 degrees of anterior tilt or 30 degrees of anterior tilt, these 2 items will be required, okay? The neat thing about the chest bar is that you will have an option or a function in here to allow you to expand it or decrease it. So you can expand the width and decrease it if you make those little changes to people's armrests. So this will be adjustable. It's also adjustable in height with the collars. On the knee block assembly, actually a little bit lighter than some of the ones that are out there, but you do have the Unilink hardware here. And so you're going to be able to get a lot of adjustment out of the knee block. You could also add for a leg length discrepancy. You could actually extend the mount here away from someone and put a linkage in if you have that leg length discrepancy. And then it's a lot really nice soft padding for the knee block as well. Let's go ahead and talk about how it will go into anterior tilt first. And so I can go through my joystick and go to the tilt icon. You're used to posterior tilt. When you're going into anterior tilt, you're going to bring the chair to its home position or flat. When it gets there, you're going to let go of the joystick, let it go to neutral, and then give it another forward command. You're going to hear a cam lock switch its position to allow to go into anterior tilt. Hold the joystick forward. This is a programmable range, so you can dictate where someone stops in anterior tilt. You will also see an A on the display screen, so you'll know you're in anterior tilt there. But you're also going to know because the seat's going to come forward and your patient's going to be like, what's happening? Once you get to the anterior tilted position, if you want, you can program in a transfer assist position. And so if I let go of the joystick once I get to anterior tilt, I can then push forward again, and it will take you further into anterior tilt. And you can also program the foot plate to go down to the floor. So for those clients, I have a lot of clients that have ALS that can still actually stand up and walk. So this position really allows them to get into the chair and get out of the chair more independently. So this transfer assist position is really nice. To get out of this position, I'm actually going to go to which we haven't talked about yet. What's really exciting about this new product from Quantum is that with the TB4, you're actually going to have 4 memory positions built into this system. And what's neat about that is it's not just 4 positions. There are 4 memory positions, and you're going to have a to and from position, a forward command and a reverse. So if you're following the math here, you're actually going to have 8 different positions you can save in this chair. All right? So just to let you see this, I actually have a memory position saved that will take me into an everyday driving around position. And as you can see, all the actuators move together, and then you're back down again. And so that was moving back down with a synchronized positioning, memory position in position 1. And so it gets you back down to a home position, okay? Also want to talk for a little bit more about the AFP. The new AFP is a dual actuator AFP. So you're going to have one actuator that is going to elevate the leg rest up and a separate actuator that's going to do the articulation of the foot plate away, all right? What's really neat about that, what the engineers came up with was this option that's going to be enabled from the factory called auto speed. And what that means is that as you elevate the leg rest up, it's going to articulate, the 2 actuators are going to move at different speeds so that they end up at the end position at the same time. And so that's going to be a neat feature. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the memory positions. There's a lot you can do here, guys. It's a really exciting time at Quantum. Okay, so now we're gonna go into one of the memory positions. It's actually memory 3 on this chair that we've programmed, just so you can see what the anterior tilt will look like. And so I actually have it latched, so you can give it one command. You don't have to latch it, but it's a nice way for someone with decreased hand function or strength just to give it one command and we'll take them to that position. And you can see what we've done here is we've actually elevated the seat up and moved this client into an anterior position. I love anterior tilt. I love how it really gets your pelvis forward. It gets your trunk forward. It gets you into a ready position socially, but also functionally. Your OTs out there are gonna love that aspect of it. And so in this position, they're ready to do stuff. If they want to come back out of it, we've actually programmed the reverse commands. Remember that there are two options for a forward command and a reverse command. So I give a reverse command. I have it latched also, and we're going to go from that anterior tilted position to a pressure relieving position. So nice for the user to not have to think about all these actuators and what they're doing and where they're going. Just being able to give one command to go from a ready functional position to now taking care of their skin. Your OTs are gonna love it. So the next thing I wanna show you, which is really exciting, is that through the programming of the chair and the actuators, you actually have the ability to do either synchronized movement of the actuators or sequential. So sequential is what we've done here. I wanna just show this to you. So give one command, I have it latched, and this is gonna be an optimal pressure relieving position for the patients. And so it is going to always tilt first. Tilting first helps gravity keep someone's hips back in the chair. Whenever you open up the hip flexors, a lot of people might have some muscle tone that causes spasticity or spasms. They might kick forward, which causes them to slide forward in their chair. Tilting first helps keep them back. The legs then extend. All of these angles and ranges you see are all programmable. They don't have to go all this way. You get to dictate that. Elevate the legs up helps keep someone's hips back in the chair also. Then the recline opens up. And this is an optimal, great pressure relieving position. And the client doesn't have to remember what order to do it in, it does it for them. Then you can give it another command and it will come back out of it sequentially also. So the back will come up first, keeping someone's hips positioned back in the chair. Then the legs will come down to whatever range you want to. And once the legs come all the way down, then the chair will untilt itself. And that's the proper way to get back into a pressure relieving position and then back up again, where your user's hips are gonna stay back in the chair, your therapist is gonna be happy, and then they're gonna be functioning a lot better in their chair long term. Okay, next thing I wanna show you, which is so cool and so exciting and so easy. I think ease is what my favorite thing about this, but you can actually teach your user if you want, or teach the therapist how they can set different memory positions, okay? So we're gonna set a position. So I'm gonna put the chair in a position I wanna save. So I'm just gonna use the actuator, the I-access box, and tilt it back some. And I'm gonna bring the backrest back a little bit. And that's just gonna be kind of a hanging out position. And what I can do is hit my home button, and I can go over to settings, go left one more time, and you're gonna see save memory positions available. You can turn this function on or off. It doesn't have to be here, but I like it. And I'm gonna go down to memory 4, and I'm gonna make this position my forward position. Just kidding. Go to the right, and you say, do you wanna save this memory position? And I do, so I give it a forward command. Now I just saved this, okay? So now, let's save a reverse position. So I'm still gonna save it in memory 4. I'm gonna bring the backrest up. And this is just gonna be my everyday riding around position, maybe to get under a table at a restaurant. You're really low now. I can go down to memory 4, and I can say this is gonna be my reverse command, and I can hit the joystick forward to save it. Now let's see what we did. So I'm gonna go to memory 4. My forward is a hold. It's gonna take me back to that tilted and opened up back angle position. That's the one I just saved. And if I give it the reverse command, we made the reverse command coming all the way down, ready to get up under a table or a desk. That's how easy it is to save these memory positions, guys. Okay, so we want to talk now about how does the evaluation process work for an anterior tilt chair. And there's a lot of questions that have to be answered before you take the product in somewhere to trial it with somebody. The things that I want to know as a clinician and as a representative of the product is the first thing, I want to know that the therapist knows the patient really well. What are the range of motion? Are there any restrictions in range of motion? Do they have autonomic dysreflexia? When they come up, have they been sitting up recently? Are they used to that position? What is their like manual muscle tests? I want to know some testing of their trunk and sitting on the mat. I want to know how much support do they need. I want to know if there's any restrictions in their ankle mobility, because sometimes getting into the anterior tilted position, number one, you're going to have a lot more pressure at the knee and more pressure at the foot, believe it or not. So I want to make sure that their bone density can handle that. So a bone density test, or getting authorization from the doctors and physicians that they can handle that kind of pressure in those areas. I want to know that it's something that the patient's interested in. I don't want the therapist to be the one dictating that. I want to show it to them. So now we're just going to kind of go through the evaluation process and just kind of fitting the client to the chair. And so you definitely want to take the time to make sure that all the adjustments are just right. So making sure that the foot plate is high enough. With anterior tilt, you really want to pay attention also to the foot plate angle adjustment. So making sure that the angle of the foot plate matches someone's foot. So if they have an AFO on and it puts their foot at a certain angle, take the time to adjust that foot plate up to give them full coverage across their foot. That's going to make them feel a lot more stable in the chair.
And y'all should have the clinician, remember we talked about have the clinician there with you, so you should have two eyes on this situation of what's happening, what could happen as you're getting into anterior tilt.
Yeah, don't feel like you're taking all the responsibility on yourself, okay?
No, so like here, I'm already sitting, like my feet are not appropriately supported. And then let's say Todd brought this as a demo. Well, that obviously is not going to work out. I should not have this much space between my knees. I think you have the good rule of thumb of...
Yeah, typically whenever you're getting someone ready to go in anterior tilt, you want the knee block to be about a hand's or 2 hands width the distance away. You can stack your hands on each other, and if I can fit that between Alex's knee and the padding, that's probably a good starting point most of the time. And also for the height of it, ideally you want the top of the pad to be at the top of the lower leg bone. I really don't want this right over the kneecaps, because whenever someone is going into an anterior position, I want the lower leg supported and I want the knee free to move. I don't want pressure right against the knee, okay? So have that knee block right at the top of the lower leg bone. And then we can put the chest bar in place. And so I'll drop that in. I think the height's fine there. I think the height of the chest bar is a comfort level. I would want to have it where if they did fall forward, it would stop them. I think it's a good idea also to go ahead and have a chest strap for these evaluations. I think having extra supports is not a bad thing. Alex also talked about having an extra set of laterals available, some thigh supports available, because when someone does go into that anterior position, you're taking gravity out of the picture for them. And so they're going to come forward and maybe have a little bit more instability. So you want to make sure you have the support surfaces there to support them in that anterior position.
And just know, this isn't the programming guides and things, but just know if you make any adjustments to the lower leg rest, like Todd's about to make some adjustments on me, what we would technically need to do is go back into my programming, and I would need to redo, teach elevate versus AFP, teach anterior tilt and transfer position to make sure there's safety as far as where my AFP is going. I'm not digging it into the floor, If you make any changes, just know you're going to need to make those programming adjustments most likely too, just for the safest situation in regards to where that AFP is in space.
Yep. And I think during the evaluation process, when you start moving the client, just talk them through it. I'm a good old Southern boy, so I'm a toucher. So I always have my hand on someone's shoulder. I always ask permission. Is it okay, if I have my hand here? It just makes me feel more comfortable. It'll make sure you feel comfortable going into this position. And so talk them through it and go slowly. There's no need to rush through this, okay? This is a really neat design because we were making the adjustment, because I really do, like I said before, I want the top of this knee block to come at the top of her lower leg bone. I don't want it over her kneecap. So I adjusted the hardware here as low as I could get it, and it wasn't low enough, but then I realized this is on a round tube, so you can actually take the pad and just rotate it around. So there's quite a bit of adjustment here, but we are gonna have to add some linkages here to get it in closer to her knee. So when she does come into anterior tilt, I don't want her sliding forward in the system. So this is really going to help hold her back in the chair.
And so Todd also appropriately adjusted my footrest height to make sure I was making good contact there. Obviously, I would always recommend, like we talked about, just the chest strap, because just in case, you know, this isn't really going to do much for me depending on somebody's trunk control. So just make sure they have that. So now we're going to go into anterior tilt and kind of talk about what would that look like if I'm the client and Todd was kind of walking me through what to expect. People are going to be very nervous, just like people are nervous when they're tilting back for the first time. Also, just know your clinician should be there and be watching for signs of things like dysreflexia, hypotension where they're going to pass out, their legs moving in a position that's not appropriate, so needing to stop. So somebody else also needs to have their eyes on the client while you are also working with the client and watching how they respond.
The other thing that you might want to do when you're moving someone into anterior tilt is also have a blood pressure machine there. So have a blood pressure cuff, have it on the client, on the patient, so you can monitor their blood pressure throughout the process. You might get to like 5 degrees of anterior tilt, check the blood pressure, make sure it hasn't dropped very much, and then you can go into 10 degrees, check the blood pressure again. So that's a good tool to have if someone is concerned about that.
Okay, sorry. And that's obviously that's where you're going to be programming for that individual. Todd and I are showing you on a chair that's programmed right now. So when you're programming it, obviously you're going to have the ability to individually kind of go into that setting. So I'll just come back down to kind of our home position, and then I guess we can just go into anterior through anterior tilt.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll just pretend Todd is setting me up into an anterior position.
Yep. Okay, so just talking to the patient, saying, okay, Alex, what we're going to do is I'm going to slowly move you forward and up into the chair, okay, into the system. So we're just going to go like this. That goes into posterior tilt. So I'm going to come down. If you remember, guys, earlier, get to neutral, stop, and then push forward again. You'll hear the cam lock switch positions, and we'll start going. And so what I'm going to do is just go a little bit and just check in. How are you feeling?
I feel okay.
Feel okay? Do you feel like your backrest is too far forward?
I feel like I'm gonna fall
forward? Okay,
yeah.
So let me just bring you back a little bit. So you can make little adjustments as you're transitioning up and just check in. This is where the chest strap will probably also make her feel more stable and more comfortable. But that looks better to me. Does that feel more comfortable? You feel more stable there?
And then just so y'all know, this is where I'm recommending get in the system and do this yourself. Like right now, I can tell sitting here, my feet feel too tucked under. I kind of feel like I'm sliding forward because I can feel that. So I would recommend sliding somebody's feet a little bit out because that's going to give them a little bit more stable base. Not significantly, but like right there is great.
All right, we're going to go a little bit further.
Okay.
And I just go a little bit at a time. There's no rush here. What's nice is that in this position, she can still drive around. So from 0 all the way up to 10 degrees, up to 20 degrees, you can still move at a reduced speed. And so that's nice functionally to get around my kitchen or do whatever you need to do at the grocery store, grab things off a cabinet, off a shelf. You still doing okay?
Yeah.
You wish the back angle was back a little bit? Or do
I feel a little forward.
Yep.
That's better.
Okay. It kind of brings
I feel like I crunched forward again.
Yep. That's probably a good position there. Let's stay here for a little bit. How's the pressure at your knee? Can you feel pressure?
No.
No? Okay. So then I'll palpate it and make sure I can get my hand in there and just feel. But that doesn't look like too much pressure. If your padding is like pancake thin, probably too much pressure. So you want to be able to feel in there and see.
And then it's a good rule of thumb that once we take that off, if you're able to like pull somebody's, pants up to their knee, just check for red marks. Those red marks should go away in like 20 minutes. The redness is normal, but it should relieve itself. Yeah,
you will definitely see redness there because really almost all of her weight right now is pushing up against the knee block.
Something that Todd and I were just talking about that happens most often if people are coming into this position for the first time or, whatever's going on physiologically, a lot of times it is normal that people's blood pressure will drop. They will get lightheaded, they will feel dizzy, they're going to feel like they're going to throw up. and they immediately need to come back down or get into a tilted position. That's not going to happen very fast, but we're going to talk through, like, you know, Todd's used to this of explaining what's going to happen with the system when somebody's not feeling good. So let's say I'm not feeling good. I feel faint. My therapist is, you know, with the blood pressure machine.
Yep, and she's looking flush. You can kind of tell someone starts to zone out, or their eyes start to roll back, and they're starting to lose it. Just say, okay, stay with me. Just take some deep breaths. We're going to get back as fast as we can. We'll get your legs up, okay?
Okay.
So just take some deep breaths. The system doesn't move real fast. And that's something else I'll do during the initial coming up into anterior tilt is I will ask them to tell me if they start to feel bad immediately, because the system doesn't move quickly. So I need you to tell me immediately if you start to feel your blood pressure drop or start to see stars or anything that will make you think you might pass out. And so you still with me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Just take some deep breaths. I'll get her back as fast as I can. Take the knee block off, and I'll raise her legs up. And that will help the blood flow get back up to her brain and bring her back to me.
Oh, I feel so much better.
Okay, good.
And just so y'all know, you could also, like, that's where if you had already kind of done the main things of, like, you know, teach the legs to the floor, you could, before an evaluation, just program one of those memory positions as a home. So that way that when I was in that position, if Todd would have already been at my evaluation and he knew, oh, my, you know, memory 1, if I pull back, is going to bring us to a reclined position or something.
Yeah.
You know, you could have that preset to try to get there a little more quickly if it is your synchronized memory profile versus how you had to see. Todd had to bring me down, wait, get that cam walk to shift back, then tilt. So just be prepared for that and think through what's going to work best for you timeliness wise.
Yeah.